फिर से 1 2 3 4
Do you remember what it was like back in your classroom? Guarding your pencils, sharpener, ruler from your classmates who'd been eyeing them for days. Neat rows of chairs which got all jumbled up by the end of the day. A huge dusty blackboard from where you took your notes. But some classrooms are a little different. This is the National Institute of Design in Ahmedabad, where ideas flow as freely as the campus does. An idea can come from the most mundane of things. And what better muse than nature itself? Classrooms are never confined by walls, and here that is true to the point where one can't even tell where nature ends and the classroom begins. Right within this world of ideas is the world of materials, in which the students engage at the level of design, thinking, questioning, reimagining the ways in which we have come to know them. And one such space of exploration is the Textile Lab at NID.
So the students generally work on what's called as a design project, which is at the end of every semester. Each design project spans up to a duration of 6 or 8 to 10 weeks. So this particular one was for about a duration of 6 weeks, where one is able to look at project briefs which could range from anything that concerns them to anything that they would like to take up, which is an emerging issue around where we are and what we see. So in that context, this year particularly, we had the students talk about what is it that really bothers them, and also with the current generation, particularly the Gen Z as we speak. They had a particular sort of inclination towards responding on topics like, say, thrifting and excess consumption and many questions around that. So given that, and also with some kind of an interest that we wanted to see how we can modify what we were conventionally doing for a 6-week module, we said why not give it a try to look at the second-hand clothing market, as we are based in Ahmedabad, and see what we can do to explore around the area.
Aligning their curriculum with a specific goal, the students are made to engage with sustainability by repurposing the fabrics, learning the skill of turning something old into something new.
So all of that led to one thinking about what is our Indian philosophy, and one also dives into this subject on traditional Indian textiles. So given all of that, one was fully aware that of course we were doing something to address the recycling, or as a culture itself. So the broad theme for this module was sort of given to them in these 3-part components. So one was repair, the other was repurpose, and the third was remember. So we thought, as much as all of this was part of us, what do we do to remember that this is very much around us and has been very much part of not just India but across the globe.
It was during the design projects of previous batches at NID that the faculty realized just how much waste fabric is generated by their coursework.
Maybe these two could be linked together. So right now they're all separate. So what if it becomes a chain or something? So as you keep growing, it's like a long thing and it's not linked to separate stuff.
Sensing an opportunity to make the waste a part of the curriculum itself, encouraging the students to innovate with the leftover fabric from not only within the campus but also outside it.
However, it may sound like it's just another embroidery technique, but it was more about the Japanese philosophy of looking at resource from a point of view of respect, resource from the point of view of what all can that do. So that kind of threw them into this way of thinking. and then they were set out into the market, where there were there were a large group of 20. They were divided into these questions of, they can all frame all sorts of questions on what, they can frame questions on why, where, who, etc. So the what team can ask all the what questions that comes to your mind. So what is this market about? So they were to find the answer. Or why is it located here? So the why team had to find the answer.
In a previous episode of Clothes with a Conscience, we talked about the Wagri community. The Wagri women go from door to door calling out to people asking for old clothes. They frequently visit societies and housing complexes, apartment buildings and colonies once or twice a week, collecting old clothes in exchange for utensils or other household goods. The Wagris have been operating this informal, often invisible trade of recycling old clothes all across India for more than 100 years now. The old clothes they collect are then brought to be sold to markets like this one.
The first visit जब हम लोग गए थे तो सेटअप देख के we were very shocked कि ऐसे भी markets होते, because we've always seen यहाँ organized, सब अच्छे से प्लास्टिक वगैरह में डले हुए हैं.
I was surprised that it's not even the proper market. It's just a road and they're sitting on the footpath and a little bit of the road. Like, it was very sudden.
I've seen markets in other places and you'd expect it to be like a proper shop, like at least with a shed or like a proper counter or something, right? But when we entered the market, we saw that one side was completely full of utensil sellers and firecracker sellers, and the other side, like across the road, there were just women sitting with their bundles of clothes right on the floor.
Setting out for their projects, the students venture out into the market of Delhi Darwaza, sifting through piles of fabric to find the one that suits their design and plan.
What kind of fabric are you planning on getting?
I think I'll work with denim.
Laksha,
We're still going for denim, right?
yeah.
Okay. What about you?
Denim only.
Yeah. Jeans like second hand. I did see a couple of them, but we'll go.
Yeah, because there are a lot here.
Yeah.
All kind of materials.
કેટલા વેચવાનો ભાવ શું હોય છે તમારો બધે રોજનો?
તમારો જો લેવાનો 12 રૂપિયાનો ભાવ હોય.
એટલે વજન પર હોય છે કે પીસીસ પર હોય છે?
બજાર ઉપર લઈએ, પીસ ઉપર હોય.
અચ્છા.
જેવું નંગ એવું.
હા, એટલે જે સારા કપડા હોય એના પછી પીસ
4-5 રૂપિયા, 10 રૂપિયા પીડી લઈએ.
હા, અને
કિલો પર લઈ. આ બધા ફેરીને ફરીને જાય, ટોપલો ફરવા જાય છે ને, બર્તન લઈ.
અચ્છા, હા 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 હા.
ઘરે ઘરે.
હા. એમના પાસેથી જ લાવવાના છે. હા.
I am a Gujarati, so I interacted with them in Gujarati only, and I feel being a Gujarati and staying in Gujarat and going these places is kind of a benefit if you want to bargain.
Now, since like we have come here many times and learned how to talk with these people, we can talk to them. Some of them, these people also knows us that we come here like every 1 to 2 months for different projects. So there are particular vendors that we go to directly. Otherwise, all over market, we know how to talk with them better, we know how to behave with them better, we know how to understand them better.
Now they go there, like they have contacts, they can call them up and say, आज मेरे को ये साड़ी चाहिए, आपने वो साड़ी लेके आया, I want it in this color. So they've sort of understood, become very comfortable with uncertainty. They know that it's not like, say, a shop where you can do sari blouse matching. You know, you're going to get the color, you're going to get whatever. Here, they've understood what is there. So they in fact came back and they mapped what all comes when, how this market changes, what would this be during monsoons. And they went back and they questioned. And they were also very concerned about the fact that they did not have a proper space and how they would often get these warnings from the cops to say that you may have to remove the space, you may want to clear the space, or you'll have to pay fine, etc. So I think there was this humanitarian sort of a point of view that kind of got them very concerned and gripped to say that this is something we want to do something about, except that at that point of time they didn't know what they would do or how they would do.
first time we came was extremely overwhelming because there's just so much amount of textile, and you can never imagine that even the second-hand market will have this much in terms of quantity and even variety, like from the most like hand-woven beautiful sarees to socks and everything is there. Now I'm definitely more acquainted, like I know a few people who sell sarees and I'll go to them, and I think now they're also, so they know that I need polyester sarees, so they show me exactly that, so that we have figured my way out.
Basically, it depends on what project I'm working on. So right now, when I came here, I had some budget in mind. First of all, like this much I want to spend, and also the quality of material. Like if I'm working with like kind of ply spreading or a sprang or something, so the quality of cloth and how heavy it is, how lightweight it is. So those are some criteria I keep in mind.
While Delhi Darwaza is historically one of the most prominent markets in Ahmedabad, offering students full-size garments to work with, there is another lane nearby where another kind of textile scrap is sold. We'll tell you more after a short break. This is Daryapur. On offer here, excess fabric from factories, from saris to bed sheets, and also scraps of cloth called katran.
The Darwaza just after that, this place called Daryapur, has also been a traditional space where people collect factory waste. So this added to that became like a large repository of, if this is my raw material, then let's say what can I do with it.
So for this particular project, we did go to second-hand markets to source these materials that we use. So that's bringing in a consciousness which my generation I think already has. So because we are getting increasingly more interested in thrifting and second-hand clothing, so we already have that sustainable mindset, and we try to bring it in our projects through ways of reusing and just minimalizing waste and making sure that when we are using the material, we aren't wasting any of it.
मैं लगभग ये मेरे दादा के टाइम की है, ब्रिटिश के भी पहले की दुकान है। पहले मेरे दादा थे, उसके बाद मेरे पिताजी आए और मैं अभी आया। फैक्ट्री में बनता है, वहाँ पर जो बचत का माल होता है ना, वो माल मैं लेके आता हूँ और वहाँ से भाव ताल करके फैक्ट्री में ये इसमें रिक्शा में लोडिंग रिक्शा में लेके आते हैं। ये कतरन होती है, इसका कोई भाव नहीं होता है, ये गोदरे के अंदर भरने के लिए लोग ले जाते हैं, उसकी गोदरी बनाते हैं।
So I chose patchwork as a method of reworking on the patches, and when I went to Daryapur, I chose floral printed patterns because I had something in mind that I have to create patches with some similar looking pattern. So the waste that I chose from Daryapur market, the waste fabrics, they all were waste of industrial waste of bed sheets, and so they all had floral prints in common. So I started working with them. I started patching them together, though they didn't look continuous, but they had all sorts of pattern on it.
केम छो? वापस से चिंदी थोड़ा सा देखना था, तो प्रिंटेड सा हो तो दिखाना।
अच्छा, आपके पास कितने साइजेस में होता है? मतलब साइज क्या क्या होते हैं ये सब? तो मतलब कितने अलग अलग टाइप के साइज होते हैं?
अलग अलग साइज नहीं होती, साइज सब एक होती है, कलर डिजाइन सब अलग होती है।
अच्छा, मतलब साइज बस यही रहेगा?
ये साइज थोड़ा 19-20 रहेगा।
अच्छा,
वो बड़ा वाला जो था पिछली बार,
हाँ वो है, तो
वो भी एक अलग साइज है। और आप ये कहाँ से कलेक्ट करते हैं, मतलब ये सब कहाँ से आता है?
ये तो हम फैक्ट्री में से लाते हैं ना।
फैक्ट्री सीधे डायरेक्ट, मतलब ऐसे कपड़ों का बचा हुआ होता है?
हाँ नहीं, ज़्यादा माल आता है ना, उसका सैंपल होता है।
अच्छा,
वो देख के ये सैंपल देख के बोले इसमें का 50 मीटर माल है, 200 मीटर माल है।
तो ये सैंपल है,
ये देख के खाली कलर और क्वालिटी डिजाइन।
तो सारा सब ये सब एक ही फैक्ट्री का है कि मतलब सब अलग अलग फैक्ट्री? सब अलग फैक्ट्री।
इधर से थोड़ा उधर से।
अच्छा, तो एक मतलब क्या जैसे रेट किस हिसाब से सेट करते हैं?
तो मालूम है, ये देख
तो और जैसे छोटे वालों का अलग रेट रहता है?
छठी बार आ गए ये, और प्रिया जी तो अभी 2 दिन पहले आके थे।
अच्छा, यू केम बिफोर?
और उनके पीछे भी बहुत लोग आए, उनके आगे पीछे नहीं जा रहे हैं।
हम लोग भी आए थे।
8 रुपए का होगा।
पिछली बार 2 किलो लेके गए थे, बहुत हो गया था।
Like if you buy a ready-made cloth and then you think of making something out of it, it's like there will be a lot of like scrapes which will be left from it. But if you are already buying scrapes that have been come from the factory, you're reusing the waste material and then building something. So from the market before we went, I bought a bunch of scrape. So the thought process behind buying this was the colors and the pattern. The product, so what I had in my mind was to use the patterns of the shirt and making it into something that gives comfort. So using quilting as a technique, I wanted to use the patterns which are already there, use them in quilt and make sort of like a body pillow or a furniture like bean bag or something.
The perception that this is not something that I can buy, that younger people are actually trying to do something about it and making extraordinary products or imaginations of that old sari becoming that new something. And also today with the age where at one point of time it was new that replaced the old, but today you see new is replacing the new. So in a scenario like this, it's amazing how some of these young people are trying to make their 2 bits count, and with the complete competition that the market may pose, they're still at it.
तो सेकेंड हैंड में इट्स थोड़ा सा हमारा चॉइस कम हो जाएगा एंड देन वी हैव टू लेट द मटेरियल थोड़ा सा डायरेक्टर. सो इवन लाइक द पीपल, मतलब जिन लोगों ने पैचवर्क के साथ भी काम किया, सो दे फिगर आउट अ वे टू फाइंड मतलब कलर्स दैट वेंट अलॉन्ग विथ ईच अदर. मतलब प्रिंट्स है ये वो, तो थोड़ा सा हमारा कंट्रोल कम हो जाता है, बट देन आई मीन इट लीड्स टू समथिंग एल्स.
The wishful thinking was that we will really arrive at a product. However, the kind of challenges that one faced in trying to just test out, is my method really the one that I should have chosen? But I think in this particular experiment was to only see that this thinking itself was therefore seen as a product. I think the product here really lies in that celebration of having made that effort, made that attempt, to just being excited about saying, let's just see what we can do. The product is really the fact that one made a beginning. That's where this is.
We're back from Delhi Darwaza and Daryapur with a rich haul of second-hand clothes and factory waste. But while that trip is over, the journey of the design project is only halfway done. Next week on the season finale of Clothes with a Conscience, we move over to the Design Lab, where the students unpack the fabric they bought and we finally get to see the fruits of their design, thought and labour of the past many weeks.